While I'm waiting on paint drying underneath, I decided to move on to the rear wheel arch, and it's generally pretty good. I've got rid of most of the flake and rust. I need to do a bit more prep in here, but yeah, going to get some rust treatment on, some primer. The only bit I did find was here, which is fine. I'll get inside tidied up, get that cut back a bit, and it's just a very quick patch on there. So yeah, I do believe the other side will be worse, because that when I looked around the car I found it was a bit crusty there, so yeah, I do expect the other side to be worse, but I'll focus on this side just now, and yeah, I'll go and get all this welded up, treated, and it's another step closer. But yeah, quite pleased with what I've found. If I can find holes like that instead of big holes around all this area, then I'll be happy. So that's this side of the bodywork done. I've just finished off the wheel arch, it's all painted and dried. I can now get the car off the ramps, out, turn it round and do the same on the other side. It's obviously against the wall just now, so I've not got the access, but yeah, pleased with how this side's went. A few bits that I've patched rather than fixed that will need full repairs. This is just temporary to get the car back on the road, so it gives me a good insight of what I need and what I know I need going forward. Now I just get to dip into the other side. Fun and games. So I've moved Travis off the ramps, back onto the ramps, facing the other way. What I'll do first is I'll grab the small camera, I'll go around the areas I know are bad on this side that I'm going to have to work on just now. So yeah, this was always the worst area on the car when I went to look at it. The left hand sill. And as you can see, it goes right into the floor pan here. So soft and thin there, completely gone there, jacking points gone, gone here, few holes here, so the back here. So basically what this is telling me is this is a brand new sill on this whole side. I was able to patch the other side, but this side's definitely further gone than that. So I don't have a sill yet. What I will need to do is remove this, and then it'll give me time to get into this floor to see how bad that is and what else is going to need done underneath, because if I'm doing a parts order, I'll order a few parts at one time to save on postage. But yeah, definitely the worst side, which I knew. Right, onto the back of the car and I'll show you the other part I knew. So it's not the best light to get in, but there is a hole in the closing plate for the rear valance. I will tackle that once I get this wheel off and I do some of the checks on the rear wheel arch. But yeah, you can see there's not great access here just now. So once I get in with the wire wheel, it'll tell me how bad that is and how much I actually need to replace, and if it goes any deeper into the boot floor. So most of the outer sill is off. Quite a bit of damage to the floor, similar to what I done Ed. I've still to do this top lip here, but an old repair here, pretty poor and thin, as went through. The bits I knew about, so basically here, 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 and here. So you're basically looking from here pretty much all the way to here if I do that repair. It's all pretty good along here until I get to the end, and there's a small repair needed here. So yeah, a few repairs near to the floor. The most annoying bit is in here, purely because that light, it's affecting the camera, purely because you have the jacking point here and the cross member on the inside, so there are a few different pieces of metal you need to either remove or navigate around to fix it. It's not as straightforward as just cutting out and welding in. So I do have jacking points there for this side, I think, so the easiest thing might be just to cut this jacking point out, and it'll give me access to this metal in here. So the rust has been cut out of the floor underneath the sill. I have the hole here at the back, a much much larger hole here that goes over, or sorry, under the cross member, and then a smaller hole at the front. So yeah, I just now need to get on making some panels, getting this welded and prepped and ready for the sill coming. Also need to take off all the excess here, so yeah, I've got my work cut out. I've done all this before on Ed, so I'm not going to cover it here. I will basically come back once it's all finished and welded in place and looking like a whole car again. So it's taken quite a while, to be honest, but I've got the floor repaired and it's got the primer on at the moment. I've taken all of this edge off and it's got well through primer on. So basically I'm waiting on it drying. I'll fit the sill, I'll get the bits of paint off I need. I also need to do the jacking point, and yeah, it's taken quite a few hours to get to this stage. Just with access and just some of the metal was thin, so I had to basically amend how much I'd cut. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll go and get the sill painted up, prepped, and when it's all ready and dry I'll get it welded in. But it will be worth it, and I have to say, working on this metal compared to a Rover Mini metal, it's so much better. It's really good, because it's a lot thicker, and even the metal that had rust in it, it was surface rust, it didn't rust all the way through. So yeah, I much prefer working with the older style metal on the older Minis. So yeah, off I go again. The repair is done to the floor, the new sill's on. I've got the under seal on, primer underneath that. I need another layer of sealer, but I need to get this one drying. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to move on to the back area now. I need to get into the wheel arch, and there's a little hole in the closing plate here. I won't know how bad until I take it off, so I'll basically get this wheel off. I've already got the ramps away from here and on axle stands, and I'll basically get a bit more access and I'll show you what I'm dealing with here, but I'm hopefully getting towards the end of the rust that's required at this stage for the repairs. So the wheel arch itself, I've already been around with a screwdriver, and it was fine, but what I need to do is get rid of the surface rust here, and you can see up here it's flaking away just with my hand. So I'll take all this off, there's slight bits here as well, here and here. Basically get it to bare metal, get it treated, and I'll get all that primed and under sealed. The area here at the back, I seen when I was buying the car, it's quite rusty inside, so I need to get all this wire brushed off, and hopefully this is just the hole here that I can just do a quick patch on. Don't want to go digging to get into floors and things like that, because the floor looked good when I was there. So yeah, I'm hoping it is just that hole there. But as I've done with this so far, I'll get it cleaned up and I'll come back once I've got a better idea of the extent of the rust. So just what I expected, a little bit bigger hole here has opened up, which is fine. I'll just basically cut it down here, put a patch on, that'll be fine. So this part here has been opened up. It's generally not too bad. There is quite a lot of crap inside, but coming around to the rear valance, it was all bodged with fiberglass filler, and yeah, I'm going to need to give this a bit more look all the way along to see basically if I'm going to need to replace the rear valance, because that's a bit annoying, the fact that that's all away. So yeah, and you can see, can you see in there, not too bad surface rust, and there was quite a lot of rust sitting. So yeah, so I'm basically going to need to move around to the back and take some of this off, or get into it with the screwdriver of doom to see how far the rust goes at this side. So that's annoying because I thought I was getting near the end. But yeah, that's me calling it a day for here anyway. I've run out of time, so I'll just jump back on from here when I continue the next time. Remember that little hole in the closing plate? Yeah, it turned into a big hole in the closing plate and an even bigger hole in the rear valance. I did cut back, but that looks like the original, but there's been bodges done underneath. There's been the usual filler stuck in, fiberglass filler on the outside, and yeah, it's just rotted away, and some of the metal inside hasn't been treated. So I've taken it back to good metal. What I need to decide now is, am I going to replace the full valance, because you don't get part replacement valances or repair panels. I decided to take the full rear valance off. I've done a repair to the closing panel here, so that's fine, just waiting on paint dry. The valance, I started to find areas of previous quick bodged repairs, so I wanted to take it off for peace of mind. I didn't like the shape of it in the middle, so yeah, you have to buy the full rear valance anyway, so rather than just do a repair, I'll just do the whole lot. It's always quite a bit of prep for me because I need to take the underlayer off of the lower rear panel, and yeah, I'll take the camera and I'll show you what I found on the other side. Here is the old valance. This was basically welded on top. And you can see the closing panel here is all rotted out here, but they've welded a new, not a closing panel, it looks like just shaped metal on, which is fine, but they've not removed the rot and they've not treated the metal here. So now I'm going to need to get this metal cut back, and if this is in good condition, I'll just treat it for the new valves to go back on. If not, then I'll need to look at new panels here or make something. But what I also need to do is take the layer along off here for the rear valance, and I'm hoping there's not going to be any rot to this lower panel, because I'm finding evidence here of quick repairs in the past, not the recent past, but they've been repaired a while ago and just left. The more metal I've ground back, the more I've seen needs attention. I have some tin one there, that's the previous repair there, it will need tidied up. Another area there, but the worst is the corner of the floor there. Quite a few holes, and obviously the closing panel was rotted away, and there was a plate put over here, and I'll show you the plate that was put on it as a bodge. So yeah, this is the plate that was on it. It was just stuck there, and as you can see, it was stuck on with sealant and sort of tucked in. That's the only thing that was holding it on, and then obviously painted over. So yeah, frustrating to find this, but on the plus side, it's better finding it now than it rotting out once I've done the repairs. So basically I'm going to have to do repairs to this. I still need to cut further back. I'm going to need to repair this section of the floor, a couple of patches. Cutting the rot out has left me 3 repairs, the biggest one being at the end here. I might need to get in from above and get some more of this done, but that's me back to solid metal there. Along here, just a small patch. Shouldn't take long for that one. And along to the other side, another small patch, but underneath here is the fuel tank. I have got fire safety blankets in to stop any sparks going through, but because of that, I'm obviously going to do the welding from underneath. I've obviously got up in here the wiring, and in here the wiring for the lights, but again I'll be taking care of that. There's a few little repairs I need to do. There's a hole here, so basically, yeah, I just need to go around with the welder, get all my templates made up and just start chipping away. Get all the boot floor sorted and get this prepped for the valance when it comes. Quite a few hours of repairs and I'm nearly ready to get the scuttle on. So you've seen there going around with the small camera. Basically I've made up a closing plate for this side and the other side. It's all welded in, it's all sealed, it's all primed and it's all painted. I'm basically at this stage just waiting on the paint drying. Now all the edges that are to be welded are weld through primer. All the areas I need covered are covered, so basically I've done all the repairs along here as well. That's all sealed. Basically I need to fit up the valance. I have fitted it on and off to make sure these are in the right place. I have to next fit it up to get the area marked up here so I can basically drill the holes to get spot weld once the valance is on, and then it's just a case of getting everything spot welded on. So again, I'm not going to cover that because I've done that before on Ed, but I thought I'd just jump into this point. Like I say, quite a few hours in at this stage. Not all at once, chipping away, because waiting on paint drying, seam sealer drying, it just takes time between. So yeah, basically I'm going to go and leave this for a few days now, come back, get all this, and then I'll get the valance on. You've seen from the small camera there, I've prepped the inside of the valance, basically the stone chip, the bits I can't get into, so that once it's on here, all I have to paint is the outside. So yeah, progress, but slow progress, and all of this because of a small hole here. But as I've said many times, that's car restoration. That is the rear valance and the closing panels done, painted, finished, and the bumpers back on. That was an awful lot of work for one hole in the rear closing plate, but I know now it's good. I know the patches on the floor will last many years. I can now move on to the rest of the bodywork, and to be honest, that should be all the rust and holes done. I just now need to paint the inside, get some sound deadening and get all the interior back in.